So good morning all. So this lecture is in continuation to the first lecture, right? So in the first lecture we were discussing about the periodic table and how the electrons are actually filled in the periodic table, right? So today I'll be just telling you some examples, right? How to actually fill the electrons in the periodic table or in the cells. Just let me open the pointer. Right. So basically that day what we were talking about the cells, right? So I'll just open a pen, and for example, if I say I have a molecule that has an atomic number of let's say we have an atomic number of 17, for example, right? So now what I have to do, I have to fill the electrons, right? So basically there will be a nucleus, right? So in the nucleus there will be neutrons and the protons, right? So what I have to do, I have to fill the electrons now in the cells. So cells will be like K, L, M and N, for example, right? So basically they will be filled according to the rule of 2n square, right? So basically when we have a first cell, right, when we have a first cell, then we have a second cell, right, like this, or we have a third cell, right? So basically now this first cell, this is the nucleus, and this one is the first cell, right? So basically in the first cell n will be equal to 1, right? For the second cell n is equal to 2, and for the third cell n is equal to the 3, right? So for example, if we have n equal to 1, right, it will be 2 multiplied by 1 to the power of 2, right? So how many electrons it can accommodate? It can accommodate maximum of 2 electrons, right? Now when n is equals to 2, right, now when n is equals to 2, so how many electrons it can accommodate? 2 to the power of 2 into 2 to the power of 2, right? So the total will be the 8 electron, right? For example, if n is equals to 3, it will become 18, right? 2 to the power of 3, 2 into 2 into 2, it will be, right? So basically it will be n is equal to 3, 3 to the power of 2, 3 into 3, right? 3 3 is 9, and 9 into 2 is 18, right? So n is equals to 4, it will be 32, like that, right? Now we'll be trying to fill the electrons using the atomic number of 17, right? So this is the first cell, it can accommodate 2 electrons, right? Then what we have the next cell, right? It can accommodate a maximum of 8 electrons, right, like this. So 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So how many we have filled? We have filled total of 8 electrons, right? Now how many electrons are left? Now we are left with the 7 electrons, right? So second 7 electrons will be occupying the outermost layer, right? So this is the thing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, right? So this is how the electrons are filled. So basically the first cell, that is n is equal to 1, right, K cell, or we can call it a K cell, right? It is having 2 electrons. Then our second cell will be having, when n is equal to 2, it will be having 8 electrons. The third can accommodate maximum of 18, but we are only left with the 7 electrons. So 7 electrons will be occupying the third cell, and this outermost cell of an atom is called the valence cell, right? So valence cell, it will be a valence cell, SHELL, right? So this is the thing. So total remaining electron in the valence cell will be called as valence electrons, right? So the total electrons that will be on the valence cell are called the valence electrons. So for example, here we have 7 electrons. So this molecule, this atomic number 17 atom contains the 7 valence electron, right? So this is the thing how we actually fill the electron, right? Now let's take another example where the atomic number is, for example, we can say atomic number is 11. For example, it is now 11, right? So how we have to fill this electron now? For example, again we'll be drawing a nucleus, right? Simple, we'll be drawing a nucleus, right? Then the first cell, right? Second cell, right? So I'll be filling the electrons. So 2 will be here, right? in the first cell, 8 will be in the second cell, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, right? So how many electron we are left with? We are left with the one electron, right? So I'll be putting this last electron on this outermost cell, right? This one. So basically now if you look at this configuration, electronic configuration, how many electron we are left with in the outermost cell, that is the valence cell? We are left with the one electron, right? So this cell, this cell will be the valence cell and this one electron will be the valence electron, right? So this is the thing. Up now, how these atoms actually react, right? How these atoms actually combine to form the molecules or the compounds, right? So that is again a new question, right? So basically what happens, see, basically all the atoms or all the compounds or all the elements required to get stable, right? So when we are doing the electronic configuration, right? So basically when an atom need to get stable, it need to complete its outermost cell, right? So what it require in order to complete its outermost cell, it require the completion of an octet. Octet is basically the 8, right? So basically when this valence cell will contain the complete 8 electrons, this will become stable, right? This will become stable, right? But see, here we require only one electron. Only one electron is required over here, this side, right? So but if you look at this side, this atomic number 11, right? So basically what it required the 7 electrons in order to complete it octet. But getting 7 electron to complete the octet is very tough task, right? It will be a very tough task. So what it can do, these type of atom, what can they can do, they can just transfer their electron, right? This single electron, it is easy to transfer the single electron. So if they can able to transfer these type of electron, the outermost cell single electron, what they can do, they can just complete their octet. See, because this cell will then vanish when it will transfer the electron, and it will be left with the 2, 2, 4, 6 and 8 electron in the outermost cell, right? So in this way it will attain it octet, right? So for all those atoms, right, that have a capacity to donate the electron, right, that is the capacity to donate the electron from their outermost cell or the valence cell, are called electropositive elements, right? They are called the electropositive elements. And now if they are donating the electron, right, there should be some atom which should accept that electron, right? For example, now we have a chlorine, sorry, this atomic number 17 is basically chlorine, right? So this chlorine can accept this electron to complete it octet, right? So basically all those atoms that accepts the electron, right, they are called the electronegative atoms, right? So basically this will be the electronegative atom and this will be the electropositive atom, right? So basically the atomic number 7 is for the chlorine, right? And atomic number 11 is for the sodium, right? So basically when they can this Na can transfer the electron to this side, chlorine, and when this can accept the electron, it will again form a molecule called NaCl, right? This is the common salt, table salt, which we use in the home, right? So basically this is the, it will form a NaCl, sodium chloride, right? So basically now when there is such type of transfer, basically one atom is sharing the electron and other atom is accepting the electron. So what happens basically, this there is a formation of actually the bond, right? So basically this will be transferring the electron and this will be accepting the charge, so sorry, that electron. So basically there will be a bond formation between this electronegative and electropositive atom, right? And this interaction or this bond formation between this negative and positive charge is called the uh, is called basically what is called the ionic bonding, right? So this is the ionic bonding, right? So now, for example, if we take some another example, for example, we can take example of now water, right? So I'll be just erasing this all the things. So we'll be discussing now how the water is actually formed, right? So we'll be discussing that thing by the electronic configuration, right? So what I'll do, so I have rubbed this board now, right? So what I'll do, we'll move this to back, right? So right, so basically this is our oxygen. So oxygen is having atomic number of 8 and hydrogen is having atomic number of 1, right? So what we'll be doing, we'll be trying to fill the electronic configuration for the oxygen as well as the hydrogen, right? So basically now I'll be just opening the pen, right? So basically now what we have atomic number of 8, right? So this is basically for oxygen, and we have atomic number of 1 for hydrogen, right? So first what I'll do, I'll try to draw the electronic configuration for the oxygen, right? So this will be the nucleus, right? This will be the nucleus, right? Now this will be the outermost cell, right? This will have how many electrons? This will have the 2 electrons, right? This will have the 2 electrons, right? So now the electrons will go to the next cell, right? So how many maximum electron they can accommodate? They can accommodate the maximum of 8 electrons according to the 2n square formula, right? But how many electron we are left with? We are left with only 6 electron, right? So basically these 6 electron will be occupying the outermost cell, right? These will be occupying 4, 5 and 6, right? So they will be occupying the outermost cell, right? Now we have a hydrogen, right? So hydrogen is again a very simple molecule. What we have to do, we have to draw a nucleus and we have to draw a cell, right? So basically it will be having only one electron, right? Now in order to complete it octet, right? In order to complete it octet, what we require 1 electron, right? This oxygen requires 2 electrons to complete it octet, and to complete it octet by the hydrogen require 1 electron, right? But hydrogen cannot give this electron in this case, because if hydrogen will give this electron, it will lose its identity, right? That is the important thing, right? So now what will happen, this hydrogen will actually be sharing its electron with the oxygen, right? So basically it will be sharing the electron with this oxygen, right? So basically now if it is sharing it electron, oxygen will get one shared pair of electron, right? But still oxygen needs one more electron to complete it octet, to make that electron equal to 8. So what it will do, it will be making another sharing with another hydrogen, right? So basically there will be one more hydrogen atom will be having one electron, and this will be sharing the electron with the oxygen, right? So now the oxygen will be sharing the electron from each of the 2 hydrogens, right? Now the molecular formula when we write for this electronic configuration comes out to be H2O, right? That is water, right? Because one hydrogen is here, right? Second hydrogen is here, and one is the oxygen, right? So that's how the electronic configuration is compiled, right? So 2 hydrogens are sharing their electrons with the 1 atom of oxygen, right? And this type of bonding, that is basically formed by the sharing of electron, right? Where we are involved with the sharing of electron is called the covalent bonding. Right now this covalent bonding can be of 2 types. It can be the polar covalent bonding, when the bonding is between the same there could be 2 types of covalent bonding. One is the non-polar covalent bonding and one is the polar covalent bonding, right? So basically when the bonding is between two different atoms, right, by sharing of electron, it is called the polar covalent bonding, right? But when the sharing of electron is between the same atoms, right, it is called the non-polar covalent bonding. For example, two hydrogens are sharing their electron pairs with each other, right? They will form what? They will form the H2, right? So this will be a type of non-polar covalent bonding, right? So this is the general thing, right? Now what we'll do, we'll just move to the quantum numbers, right? Quantum numbers, what are the quantum numbers and how they are actually used in the chemistry, in the electronic configuration basically, right? So till now what I was doing, I was making the nucleus, right? I was making the nucleus, and what I was doing, I was putting the electron in the cell, right? For example, I was putting 2 electron here, 8 electron here, right? So basically I was doing like this, right? I was doing like this. For example, 8 electrons are here, right? So basically what is the problem with this is that these position of electron is not defined, right? I cannot say the basically see the electrons are actually the charged particle, right? So basically they are negatively charged containing particles, right? So basically if they are having the charge, they will be moving around in the cell, right? There will be no fixed position of this electron. For example, if I am drawing this electron here, this can be anywhere, this can be anywhere in this cell, right? So basically now to define this position, right, of this electron and the energy of this electron, right, in an atom, we require the help of some quantum number, right? So basically see what the quantum number will define. First thing, they will be defining the position of this electron, whether this electron is present in the first cell, whether this electron is present in the second cell, whether it is in the third cell or in the fourth cell or in the fifth cell, right? Firstly they will be defining the position of electron, right? Now the second thing, they will be defining about the energy of the electron. Energy means, for example, if a electron is closer to the nucleus, right? If the electron is closer to the nucleus, so basically in the nucleus what we have the protons and the neutrons, right? So basically the protons are the neutral charge species, right? So basically the neutral charge species will do what? Basically neutral charge species will do nothing, right? But the force that will be exerted on this proton will be by the proton, right? The electrostatic interaction, right? So basically the interaction will be between the proton and the proton in the nucleus and the electron in the cell, right? So as the electron will be closer to the nucleus, it will be exerting more force, right? There will be high energy, right? And as this electron gets far away, the energy will decrease. So basically the quantum number will tell about the position and the energy of the electron in an atom, right? Now second thing, for example, if I am drawing two electrons together like this, right? So what is the problem here is both the electrons contain the negative charge, right? Both the electron will actually contain the negative charge. So basically if they both contain the same type of charge, that is a negative charge, they will be repelling each other, right? There will be a repulsion, right? So we cannot put two electrons together. So therefore to show the electronic configuration, what we do, we show the electron by the arrow, right? So this is how we actually show the electron, right? So one will be the arrow up and one will be the arrow down, right? Because it's a vector quantity, it is showing the direction, right? So basically two electron cannot have the same direction in a cell, right? If they will be having the same direction, that means they will be attracting each other, right? And two same charges cannot attract each other, right? So this is the problem. So basically we have to show the electronic configuration like this in the form of arrow, right? So basically this is called the spin quantum number, that is the ms, right? Now basically what I am saying that the electrons are moving in the cell, right? So whenever the electron will be moving in the cell, what they will do, they will be producing electricity, right? And whenever there will be the production of electricity, there will be what? there will be an development of proportional magnetic field, right? There will be the proportional development of what? Basically magnetic field, right? So basically that magnetic field will be proportional to what? Amount of current generated, right? So basically this will be denoted by this magnetic quantum number ml, right? Now what we have, this we have already discussed, the principal quantum number. So basically the principal quantum number will define the energy, right? So basically we were discussing about the cells, so right, so basically if n is equals to 1, right, this will be having the higher energy than n is equals to 2, right? So we have discussed this thing. Now we have azimuthal quantum number, right? So basically the azimuthal quantum number will be defining the angular momentum of a electron in a atom, right? So basically now I'll be describing all these things, the principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and the spin quantum number, right? So basically now principal quantum number is like this. For example, we were talking earlier about the cell. We had talked about KLMN. So basically this KLMN receives an integer number, right? That is from 1 to n, right? This cannot be 0 and negative. If it is 0 and negative, that means the atom do not exist, right? Even in the simplest atom, that is the hydrogen, there will be one cell, right? So this is the important thing to keep in the mind, right? So basically n cannot be 0 or it cannot be negative, right? So basically n will be denoting what? N will be denoting the cell, right? So for example, the K cell will be denoted by the n number 1, L will be denoted by the n number 2, M will be by 3, N will be by 4, and so on, right? So basically these are the numbers, right? So the principal quantum number n is a positive integer, right? It is a positive number and it cannot be negative or 0, right? So this is the thing. The principal quantum number determines the size and to the larger extent to the energy of the orbital. So basically see how it will be determining size as the number of cells will be increasing, as so I can say as per the number of n will be increasing. For example, it is coming to 1, 2, 3, 4. So as and when this number will increase, the cell number will increase, right? Basically, so the size of that atom will increase, right? The second thing is the energy of the orbital. So basically energy of the orbital means the electrons, when they will be very close to the nucleus, right, they will be of high energy, right? But as the distance, as the n will increase, their energy will decrease, right? This is the important thing. Then what we have now, size of an orbital increases with an increase in the principal quantum number, right? So we have discussed this, right? In the other word, the electron will be located away from the nucleus. Since energy is required in shifting away the negatively charged electron from the positively charged nucleus, the energy of the orbital will also increase with the increase of n. So for example, if we are trying to remove the electron, right? So basically if you are trying to remove the electron, so it will be become more easier to remove the electron from the last cells. For example, as the high number, as we go with the high number of n, it will become more easier to pull down the electron, right? Because there will be a lesser amount of electrostatic energy, right? So this is the thing. Then what we have azimuthal quantum number, right? These are the second type of quantum number. So basically we have the azimuthal quantum number, right? So they are basically denoted by the symbol L, right? So basically now L can have the values of n, right? So for example, if n is equals to 1, right, n is equals to 1, so the value of L will be equals to the n minus 1, right? So if n is equals to 1, it means the L value will be 0, right? If n is equals to 2, it means L can have two values, that is 2 minus 1, 1, and 1 minus 1 0. So basically L will be having two values, right? So if n is equals to 3, L will be having three values, right? So 3 minus 1 2, 2 minus 1 that is 1, and 1 minus 1 0. So basically if n is equals to 3, L will be having three values, that is 0, 1 and 2. Then if n will be having a value of 4, right? So in that case L will be having the value of 0, 1, 2 and 3, right? So these are the examples I have given. When n is equals to 1, value of L is only 0, right? For example, the n is equals to 2, the possible values of L can be 0 and 1, and for n is equals to 3, the possible values of L are 0, 1 and 2, right? So these are the common things, right? So now if you look at the periodic table, right? So basically the modern periodic table is classified into some blocks, right? We call that that some atoms are in the S block, some are in the P block, some are in the D block, and some are in the F block, right? So basically how those atoms are classified in those particular blocks, right? So we can discuss about that thing. So basically now each cell consists of one or more subcells or sublevels, right? So far we were talking about the cells, right? Now in the quantum chemistry, right, basically each cell also contains some subcells, right? So now the number of subcells in the principal cell is equal to the value of n, right? For example, how many subcells will be there? For example, if n equals to 1, right? For example, if n equals to 1, right? So basically the principal subcell number will be 1, right? If n equals to 2, right? So basically the principal cell will be equal to the 2, right? So basically this is the thing. So I'll be just erasing this thing, right? For first example, in the first cell n is equal to 1, there is only one subcell which correspond to L is equals to 0, right? We have discussed this thing. Now when there are two subcells, right, two subcells, n will be equal to 2, then the L value can have two numbers, that is 0 and 1. So basically it will have two subcells, right? So now when in the second cell, now what we have, when we have L is equals to n is equals to 3, right? So L can have three values, that is 0, 1 and 2, right? So that this thing we have already discussed in the previous slide, right? So basically each subcell is assigned an azimuthal quantum number L, right? So this is very simple. I'll be giving some example later, right? For example, see this thing. For example, if we have a notation for subcell is S, right? So basically what we have n is equals to 1 here, right? So the value of L will be 0, n minus 1, right? So this is the thing, right? So basically 1 will be denoting the P subcell, 2 will be denoting the D subcell, 3 will be denoting the F subcell, 4 will be denoting the G subcell, and 5 will be denoting the H subcell, and so on, right? So this is the general thing you have to remember. Just small thing, I'll be giving you example to make the thing more clear, right? So now this is the thing, this is the important table, right? So for example, if we have n equals to 1, right, when we have n equals to 1, right, so L will be 0, right, and the subcell will be denoted by, one second, let me open the pen, right? So basically when n is equals to 1, L is equal to 0, right? So basically what we have, we will be having only what, we have only one subcell, that is 1s, right? When this n equals to 2, right, then what will have, we'll have two subcells, one will be the 2s and the 2p, right? We are calling it like this, right? Now when we have n is equals to 3, right, we have n is equal to 3, how many subcells we can have? We can have 3, n minus 1, we can have 0, we can have 1, we can have 2. So they will be accommodating like 3s, 3p and the 3d. So basically this number, this first number will be showing the n number, and this alphabet will be denoting the subcell, right? So basically this is the number of cell. This is the number of cell principal. This is the principal quantum number, and this is the subcell, right? So basically, in the principal number 2, we have two subcells, 2s and the 2p. 2 is common, right? So when we are going into the principal quantum number 3, we have three subcells, 3s, 3p, and the 3d, right? So when we are going into the 4, we have the four subcells, right? 4s, 4p, 4d, and the 4f's, right? So 4 is common. So see, 4 is common. So in the principal number, when the principal number is 4, we have four subcells, right? They belong to like S, P, D, and F, right? Now, these S, P, D, and F will have some electrons, right? So how many electrons these S, P, D, and F can acquire now, right? Earlier we were talking about KLMN, where we were talking about the 2n square formula, right? So according to the 2n square formula, we were talking in the first cell there will be 2 electron, then there will be 8 electron, then there will be 18 electron, and then there will be 32 electron as per the formula of 2n square. But when we are dealing with this uh, SPDF subcell, right? So each subcell have different amount of electrons or the number of electrons, right? So for example, the S can have only 2 electrons, right? So basically S can have only 2 electron, the maximum of 2 electron, right? Then what we have P, right? P can have the maximum of 6 electrons, right? Then we have a D, right? D can have a maximum of 10 electrons, right? And then we have a F. F can have a maximum of 14 electrons, right? So this is the general thing. This is the general thing how the electrons are actually filled in the subcells, right? So basically now we'll be discussing how to fill the electrons in the subcells, right? So but before going to that, what we have these shapes, right, for the SPD and F block elements. So basically there are different types of shape. For S orbital it is like circular, right? So basically the possibility of finding the electrons in the S orbital will be everywhere because it is a circular, right? So then we have a P orbital. P orbital look like this dumbbell, right? So basically, or a lobe, right? So basically the possibility of finding the electron in the p orbital will be maximum at this portion or at the end of these lobes, right? So these are called the end lobes, right? Then again in the d orbital, basically the possibility of finding the electron will be at the end lobes, right? Now basically when we are filling the electrons, when we are doing this in the theoretical classes, right, we cannot draw all these sphericals, dumbbells, double dumbbells, or the 3D dumbbells, right, like of structure. So what we denote, we actually denote these things with the boxes, right? For example, the s orbital is denoted by a single box, right? This p orbital is denoted by a 3 box, right? So this is the thing, this one. This d orbital is denoted by 5 box, right? So this is the thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Now this f orbital is denoted by 7 boxes, right, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? So we were talking about how many electron can be filled, right? So if you remember about the boxes, that S is donated signified by this single box, P is signified by this 3 box, D is signified by this 5 box, F is signified by this 7 boxes. So we were talking about the filling of electron, right? So basically we were talking about that S can accommodate 2 electrons, right? So basically now the electrons will be like this in the s box, arrow up and the arrow down. So 2 electrons will be here. This will be the p orbital, so maximum it can have 6 electrons. So basically it will be like this, arrow up and the arrow down, arrow up again. These are showing the direction of the electron, right? So this is the filling of electron in these subcells, right? So now d can have the 10 electrons, right? It will be filled like this, arrow, arrow, right? Simple arrow, right? So basically you are denoting the electron direction, right? So basically it can have the maximum of 10 electrons, right? So this is the way how the electrons are filled, right? So simple thing, okay? So same thing will be with the d orbital also, right? So this is how the electrons are filled. Now I'll be just telling you this. You can go with the difference between subcell, cell and orbital. We have already discussed the thing, right? So now how do these orbital actually work, right? So we'll be discussing about this thing. So see, for example, if you look at the periodic table, right? Now if you look at the periodic table, so how this SPD and F comes into the picture, right? So basically what we have, this is the group, right? These are the groups, these are the groups, and these are the periods, right? This is the period, right? So basically there are some colors, right? So basically somewhere it is written D transition element, somewhere it is written the P type, P, right? So basically, and here it is written F transition element. So basically what they have done, they have classified the atoms on the basis of 4 blocks. That is, this one block is called the S block. This is the S block, right? This one is the P block. This one is the P block. This one, right? This is the D block, right? And this one is the F block. So how they have actually classified these into S, P, D, and F? And if the questions comes in exam, for example, if I say there is a molecule, there is an atom having the atomic number of 78, can you predict key in which block this atom belongs to? Right? So how to solve these type of answers, questions, right? So basically I'll be telling you about these things, right? So now basically now when we are doing such type of chemistry, when we are discussing about such type of things, we actually follows two rules in order to know how the electrons are filled, right? In a field, basically there are two rules, above rule and the Hund's rule, right? So basically above rules means the above principle state that electron fills lower energy atomic orbital before filling the higher energy ones, right? So basically the lower energy cells will be filled first, then will be filling the higher energy orbital, right? The second thing is the Hund's rule, right? So basically Hund rule said that every orbital in a subcell is a singly occupied with one electron before any one orbital is doubly occupied. So basically it is saying that कि जब भी कोई जैसे सबसेल्स हम फिल करेंगे तो सबसे पहले जैसे हमारे पास 2s 2p था, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल 2s 2p था या हमारे पास 3s 3p 3d था, तो हम लोग सबसे पहले क्या करेंगे, सिंगल सिंगल इलेक्ट्रॉन्स की फिलिंग करेंगे उनके सबसेल्स में, और अगर हमारे पास इलेक्ट्रॉन बचेंगे तो ही हम उनका पेयर अप करेंगे, तभी पेयर अप करना मतलब डबल इलेक्ट्रॉन्स उसमें फिल करेंगे, राइट? दिस इज द थिंग. For example, I'll be giving you example. So this is the above rule. For example, if you want to remember this above rule, what you have to do, you have to draw the number of subcells, right? For example, n is equals to 1, right? For example, if n is equals to 1, we have only one subcell, right? So n is equals to 2, we have the two subcell, 2s and 2p, right? Then for the n is equal to 3, we have three subcells, 3s, 3p and 3d, right? And for the 4 n is equal to 4, we have four subcells, 4s, 4p, 4d, 4f, right? For 5 again we have 5 this subcells, right? For 6 we have 3 subcells, right? 6s, 6p, 6d, and here is the 6f and other thing not do not exist, right? Again with the 7, in the 7 also 7d, 7f do not exist, right? So basically we have only two subcells, right? So we have to actually remember this thing. This is the important thing. If you remember this, we can easily fill the electrons, right? So basically now what you have to do, you have to just draw the diagonal arrows, right? In order to remember the thing, you have to just draw the diagonal arrows. Now from what you have to do, you from the head you can just draw a imaginary line and connect this thing, right? And connect this tail. So basically if you are connecting the head with the tail, there will be a pattern, right? There will be a pattern of the subcells, right? So basically what the pattern we are getting, just I'll try to draw with this pen. So firstly what I'm getting, 1s, right? If I move then again again 2 here, why I'm getting 2s, right? So then if I am from 2s again I am coming here and I am again moving to here, I am getting 2p and the 3s. So I am writing here 2p and the 3s, right? This is the thing. Right now if I am coming from 3s, I'll be going to this direction and it will be coming till 3p and then 4s. So what I'll be writing? I'll be writing 3p and the 4s, right? 4s. After 4s, what is the thing? See, we are going here, we are going here, we are going here, and we are coming here, right? So the first cell is coming 3d, right? So after 3d, what we have? We have 4p, right? So I'm writing 4p over here, right? So we have 4p. Then what we have after 4p? We have 5s, right? We have 5s, right? After 5s, what we are doing? We are going again from this head to tail, right? And we are going till here. We have the 4d first and 5p second. 4d and when I'm coming back, we have 5p and 6s. 5p and 6s, right? So this is how the electrons will be filled, right? So this will be the pattern of the energy subcell. So basically the electron will be starting to fill from this lower energy subcell, that is the 1s. Then the electron will be filled in 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 4s, 3d, 4p, 5s, 4d, 5p, 6x, and after 6x it will go to 4f. 4f, after 4f it will go to 5d, after 5d it will go to 6p, then 6p it will go to 7s, and so on, right? So basically this is the pattern how the electron will be filled, right? So you have to remember this above rule in order to remember the pattern of the electron filling, right? So basically you will be receiving this type of pattern, right? Now we have to fill the electron in these, right? So what we have to do? So basically if we have a s orbital, so maximum electron it can accommodate will be 2, right? Then we have the 2s orbital, again s will be having maximum electron of 2. Then we have 2p, so p can have the maximum electron of 6, right? Then we again have a s, so s will be having the electron of 2. Then what we have? We have 3p, so p will be having the electron 6. 4s again s, so s will be having electron 2. Now we have d, so d can have a maximum of 10 electron, right? P again 6, right? S again 2, d again 10, right? P again 6, s again 2. For example, f is there, right? F can have the 14, right? It can have a 14. For example, 4f is there, it can have a 14 electrons, right? So this is the thing. So basically we have dealt about two major rules. One is the above principle. So above principle will basically tell you the order, right? Order of increasing energies to fill the electron, and the Hund's rule. The second thing is the Hund rule. So basically Hund's rule will be telling you that each subcell will be filling with the single electron first, and when we are only left with the electron, then we have to fill the second electron there, right? So basically these are the two rules, and on the basis of the two rules now we'll be trying to solve some problems, right? For example, see what I have some compounds here, right? So basically they some belongs to the s block, p block, d block, f block, right? So what I'll be taking some examples, right? So I'll be just moving to the single slide, right? So basically now I am taking one example of can take directly example from here, right? For example, I can take an example of calcium, right? Calcium is having atomic number of 20, right? So what I'll do? So what I'll do, I'll be making an electronic configuration for calcium, right? So I'll be taking the pen, and we have the calcium atomic number is equals to 20. Or what I can do, I can just copy that thing, the this table. This will be actually helpful for you, right? So what I'll do, I'll do this. I'm going here, right? what I'm doing, I'm pasting it here, right? And we are dealing with this molecule current atom currently calcium. So calcium is having the atomic number of 20, right? So basically if the calcium is having the atomic number of 20, what I have to do, I have to just draw this thing. Calcium equals to 20, right? So basically it have atomic number of 20, right? So I have to now fill the electrons, right? So firstly I have to draw what? I have to draw 1s, right? So 1s will have a single block, right? This is the thing. Then I have a second 2s. So basically 2s will be having again a single box, right? Then if I move from here to here, I receive the 2p. So what I have 2p, right? So basically the 2p will have how many? Three boxes, right? So 1, 2 and 3. So from 2p I go till 3s. So basically the 3s will be having, again it is s, so it will be having a single box, right? So now I have to fill the electrons, right? So this is the first principal number and the first subcell, right? So I will be filling 2 electron here, right? Now we have a 2s and 2p. So basically what we have the two principal numbers, right, with two subcells, right? So first what I'll do, I'll fill the electron single in each subcell. So it will be having 1, again 1, again 1 and again 1. So basically we have half filled these orbitals, right? Now see how many electrons we have filled. 2 here, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So basically we are left with the 14 electrons. So if we are having 14 electrons, we can just fill them completely, right? So basically I am now filling this completely, right? This thing, right? So 6 to 8 to 10, how many electrons we are left with? We are left with 10 electrons, right? So 3s will be here, 3p and 4s, right? So I'll be writing 3p and 4s, and we are left with 10 electrons, right? So in the p it will be having three boxes, 1, 2. This 4 will be having one box, right? So 10 electrons are here, right? Now 3s, first one electron, right? Here also one electron, here also one electron, and here also one electron. So how many we have filled? 6, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, right? So we are left with 6 electron, right? So I have some electrons, so 6 electron are there. So I will be filling one here, I will be filling one here, I'll be filling one here, I'll be filling one here. So what I have done, I have made these orbital filled completely now, right? So how many electrons? 2, 2, 4, 6, 4, 10, 11, 12, 12 and 6, right? 18, right? These are the 18 electrons, right? So where my next two electrons will go? They will be going to the 4s orbital, right? This is the 4s orbital, right? Two electrons are there. So what I have done, I have just filled the 4s first, right? Now see, the last vacant electron are in the 4s. So basically now these vacant electrons, right? So basically the vacancy is in the s orbital, right? These are the vacant last filled electrons. So basically I can say the calcium belong to the s block element, right? So if you look here, see this thing, calcium, right? The last block filled is 4s and hence it belong to the s block element, right? For example, now we take an example of say zinc, right? We can take example of zinc and we say that the zinc is in d block element, right? So what you can do as a homework, you can just practice, trying the different what we call the atomic number, except this thing, except chromium and the copper, right? The chromium and the copper are the two exceptions, right, in the periodic table. I'll be discussing them in my next video lecture, right? So other you can just try, with some f block elements also, right? You can just draw the electronic configuration and try to fill them in as per the rules of the Apau and the Hunds, right? So you can just try key where the electrons are coming in the last cell, what could be the possible block, right? so you can do this thing. Okay, so basically this is the thing. Right, so that is for the today. Right, what you can do, you can just practice all the things, you can just practice the different electronic configuration. Right, after this we'll be just giving some examples and then we'll be moving into the trends. Right, basically the what are the trends in the periodic table, what are the groups, what are the periods, and how the electronegativity, atomic radii, ionization energy, electron affinity, right, changes when we move toward in a group or toward a period. Right, so we'll be discussing about those things. Right, hope the things are clear, and when we once completed we'll be doing some video sessions, right, as a doubt clearing sessions. Right, so thank you for this.